Hi everyone, how's it going? It's about a week now from Thanksgiving, which also means about a week from Record Store Day, Black Friday. I'm actually going to be in Orlando, so I probably won't participate. I'm not too familiar with the record stores in that area outside of Rock and Roll Heaven, which my last visit or two I wasn't too impressed with. They kind of cater, I think, to the tourist crowd and are maybe a little overpriced. So I'll probably just hang out at the hotel and just relax, let the wife and daughter go out and do the Black Friday craziness at the mall or whatever. But I'm not that concerned about it really. I don't really get that much into Record Store Day. We're lucky that we have a couple of really great record stores here in town, and one especially that kind of caters more to the tastes I'm into, rock and jazz and more obscure krautrock, psychedelic progressive rock, even reggae, things like that. So I'm going to do this video is going to be things I found at that record store. It's called Arrow's Aim here in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm actually going to do two videos because I've got a lot of stuff I picked up over the summer. But this one's going to be just mainly stuff I picked up over the summer, and the second video is going to be things I picked up at their 5th anniversary sale, which was maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, can't remember. But let's get into it. I kind of been avoiding the place over the beginning of the summer because it seemed like every time I went in there I spent way too much money. They've got a great selection. The owner really knows his music, has a broad knowledge of music, and just brings in some great collections of music and prices everything to sell. He doesn't price things to show off. I've seen some record stores do that. They price things too high, I think, just to kind of keep in the store and show off that they've got that ultra rare collector's record. That drives me nuts. This store does it right. They price things to sell. Inventory turns over, and there's always new stuff coming in, and there's always really interesting stuff coming in. It's not your run-of-the-mill, 10 copies of every Barbra Streisand album or Barry Manilow record. It's not that crap. It's good stuff. And an excellent dollar bin as well. It's not just trash. It's not just overstock of mainstream releases. It's some pretty good stuff with some condition problems perhaps, or just kind of more obscure oddball stuff. So starting off some jazz, because I'm big into jazz these days. First of all, a double LP set off from the Impulse label. This is Paul Horn, flute player, played sax as well early in his career. Most people probably know him from the album Inside, where he's inside, I believe, the Taj Mahal. I think he did one inside the Great Pyramid. But this is from the Dedication series that Impulse put out. This is volume 16, Plenty of Horn. There's Paul Horn. It's I had to do a little research on Discogs to kind of figure out what exactly is on here. So I made myself a little cheat sheet here. But it contains two complete albums, his early albums from the Dot label, House of Horn and Plenty of Horn, and then a couple of tracks of his off the Dot LP compilations of the Downbeat Jazz Concert Volume 1 and Volume 2. So two full albums and then a couple of tracks, his tracks from these two live albums. So pretty nice collection. These albums are hard to find, these Dot albums of his, House of Horn and Plenty of Horn, so for $3 that was an excellent way to kind of pick those up and enjoy them. Next up, Japanese pressing, an artist I haven't found a whole lot of, a clarinet player, kind of an older school player, but this is Buddy DeFranco and his orchestra, Closed Session on Verve. And obviously it's a Japanese pressing. Can't remember off the top of my head who plays on this album, but I do remember there being some pretty heavy cats on this one. But $8 in really nice shape. Wasn't going to pass that one up. Every day is kind of record store day at this record store. They always have really neat stuff, different pressings, and everything's usually in really great condition. The owner's kind of a stickler for quality, I think. which means a lot of really interesting stuff that isn't in the best of condition ends up in the dollar bin, which is also excellent. So here's an album that's really not that hard to find, by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but this one is a UK pressing, and I haven't had this in my collection since I was a teenager, so I picked this one up. This is Welcome Back, My Friends, to the show that never ends. Ladies and gentlemen, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Got the cool UK price sticker there, special price, £4.99. And this was actually $8, so a little bit of inflation over the years. Next up, some more prog rock. Steve Hillage, excellent guitarist, just musician in general. This is Live Herald. Live recordings here on Virgin, I'm sure. And this is a double LP set. Got the Virgin green and red labels. Really gotten into Steve Hillage's music lately. It's really enjoyable. Not so much prog, it's almost more like trancey. It's really cool stuff. He's a member of Gong. Can't remember the other bands he's in, but definitely an excellent musician. So those were just kind of like my stop-in visit pickups, some stuff here and there. And then a weird thing happened. I was at Goodwill one morning, just flipping through the record bins, and just kind of the usual crap. The two Goodwills in town, they usually have about 2 bins of records, and there's usually some classical and some easy listening and just some other stuff mixed in, and every once in a while some interesting music pops in. I just happened to be there. I flipped through the records and saw there was nothing there, so I went to the CDs, and I was looking through the CDs, and the guy walks out from the back and he drops a handful of records in the bin, and I kind of glance down, I see Michael Jackson. So I go flicking through the records, and there's the picture disc here of Thriller. Yeah, not the newer reissue, but the original pressing. 12-inch of Smooth Criminal off of Bad. This one obviously is a little beat up, but and then 3 more which I can't show because I traded in. His first 2 records, Got to Be There and Ben, from the Motown label. The Got to Be There, the record was like in near mint shape, but the sleeve had a few issues, you know, some ring wear, things like that. But Ben, the copy of Ben, was the original pressing. Had all the rats on the cover, kind of spooky. But the jacket and the record itself, everything was like nearly mint. So I knew that was worth some money. And then there was another record, a 2 LP set called the Remix Suite, which came out I think in 2009 on Universal, which also is in just near mint shape. So kind of weird, not something you normally see just donated to Goodwill. Took them home, listened to them. The Remix Suite was pretty cool. It's his, you know, early solo recordings remixed by, you know, modern remixers, producers, things like that. Ben I enjoyed, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't music I'm not really into the Motown sound that much. Kind of tried to get into it, Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, things like that. Yeah, Motown, soul, R&B. Not really my thing, so I hung on to them, and then decided for the first time I'd done this, to go to the record store, my record store, Aerozaim, and trade them in, for something I'm more interested in having in my collection. So I traded those in, the band that Got to Be There, and the Remix Suite, and another record which I'd had for a while. Can't remember the title of that one. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I knew it had some value. And picked out some cool stuff that's more in tune with what I like to collect. So first of all, I mentioned I like Steve Hillage. This I thought was pretty cool in the 7-inch section of the store, 7-inch singles. For $3, a picture disc of Steve Hillage, various tracks. Let's see, it's a 6-pack, 6-track Guaranteed 15 minutes playing time, a quality British pressing, limited to 5,000 copies. And it plays at 33 1/3 RPM. Pretty cool little package. It's got a little kickstand on the back, that folds out, where I guess you could set up on the table and display it. Kind of gimmicky. Yeah, but pretty neat. I mean, this is the kind of thing, if they released this for Record Store Day, they'd probably want $15 for it. But you buy an original for $3. It just seems kind of weird. But I think if they came out with this now, everybody'd rush to the store and buy a copy for $15. There's Steve. So pretty cool. Tracks on here, if I can read these. Let me get my cheater glasses. Tracks from a few different albums. So you've got the Salmon Song, It's All Too Much, The Golden Vibe, Not Fade Away, Electric Gypsies, and Radio. So a pretty neat little collection on one little 7-inch picture disc. So that was pretty cool, pretty exciting for $3. He could have charged $6 and I would have paid that for it. I love picture discs. I'm not, some people call them toys or gimmicky, but I don't think they play as bad as everyone says. I've heard some that are pretty horrible, but in general they're not as bad as everyone claims, I think. And then picked up some jazz. I really like Vibes Jazz vibraphones, and I was kind of familiar with this artist, but didn't have anything by him, so I picked up a couple by him. Johnny Lytle, the Johnny Lytle Trio, Got That Feeling on Riverside. Stereo pressing here for $8. So that was pretty cool. And then let's see, Happy Ground, Johnny Lytle Trio on Jazzland, which I think was a sister label to Riverside, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, pretty cool. So you got vibes, organ, and drums on this one. Yeah, same thing. The other one, vibes, organ, drums, and bass from Milt Hinton. And then some organ stuff, jazz organ. Don Patterson with Jimmy Heath, Pat Martino, and Albert Heath. These are Soulful Days on the Muse label. Pretty cool stuff. Pat Martino, excellent guitarist. Don Patterson, great organ player. And some sort of exotica, but I know a little bit more about this from a band called the Surfmen, The Sounds of Exotic Island. And this is from the Somerset Stereo Fidelity label. And the Surfmen were actually a collection of kind of West Coast jazz musicians, people like Paul Horn, who I mentioned earlier, showed his record. Jimmy Rouse on piano, Al Hendrickson guitar, Milt Holland bass, Gene Estes percussion and vibes, I think. Emil Richards, same thing, probably percussion and vibes, different percussions. So pretty neat stuff, pretty solid exotic album, but some nice jazzy elements in here too. And then from the Dollar Bin, from the same visit, a nice 2 LP set from Savoy. It was in the Dollar Bin because it has some water damage. It was actually it's a gatefold and it was stuck together. I couldn't open it first, so kind of steamed it and slowly worked it, and it opened up, but it tore a little bit, but not too bad. A little bit tearing on the inside. But really cool collection of sort of the black African American musicians playing in the Hollywood, LA area in the mid to late 40s to early 50s. So, like people like it says on the cover here, you got Sonny Chris, Buddy Collette, Eric Dolphy, Harold Land, Hampton Hawes, Art Pepper, who wasn't really black. I guess they just threw him in here because he was playing on the sessions. But this is pretty cool. They are white label promos, and I think these came out in, I guess, in the late 70s, early 80s. I'd have to look that up, but the record's in just near mint shape, no scuffing or anything on them. But yeah, just the water damage. So it was thrown in the dollar bin there. So 2 minty white label promos for $1. Can't go wrong there. Another one from the dollar bin, the Hollywood Wind Jazz Tet, arranged and conducted by Jerry Fielding. And on Decca, and playing on here is a couple names I recognize right off the bat. Red Callender on bass, and again, I just mentioned him, Buddy Collette on flute, alto and tenor sax, clarinet, and bass clarinet. Very versatile musician, excellent musician, Buddy Collette. A 2 LP set from Verve, one of their twofers. This is The Genius of Bud Powell Volume 2. And so it says these are Powell's last 5 sessions for Verve, including 5 previously unreleased alternate takes. That's pretty neat. Ahmad Jamal at the Black Hawk. This one's obviously got some water damage, some wrinkling and stuff. But the record's in really nice shape. It's a reissue from the Cadet label. Argo had to change their name to Cadet because there was a I believe British label, classical music label called Argo, and so Argo just became Cadet, but it still bears the original artwork with the Argo catalog number on there. And then finally, from this record store, a couple records from a label I love to collect. This section of my collection, a lot of it is actually this area right here is dedicated to On You Sound Records out of England and the work of producer Adrian Sherwood. So it's a mix of kind of roots reggae, punk, post-punk, industrial, electronic, and even a little bit of hip-hop. A couple records from the On You Sound label, early or original pressings. First of all, the collective Singers and Players, this one called War of Words. And this is, I believe, singer Bim Sherman, pictured on the front. A little pricey for what I normally pay for records. This is why I don't go into the store all the time, because I find records like this and I end up buying 4 or 5 of them and dropping $100. But just something you don't see every day. I think these have been the Singers and Players records. Some or all of them have been reissued recently, but it's nice to have an original French pressing here. I think a lot of the early On You Sound stuff was pressed in France. So yeah, this one actually has a slight warp, but not a big deal. It plays fine. I'd rather have a slightly warped original than a perfect or probably even slightly warped reissue. Seems like most reissues today come with a little bit of a factory warp with them. And then another one, again, $20 impulse buy from the store. I saw it and I had to have it because I didn't have it in my collection. This is Mark Stewart and the Mafia, Learning to Cope with Cowardice. Mark Stewart was a singer of a band called Pop Group, kind of a post-punk group. Went solo, and this, I think, was his first record on You Sound. And this one, Mafia, the band backing him, is more of a reggae type band, dub reggae. I think this is a Dutch pressing on Plexus here, the Plexus label. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so not just jazz. You know, typically I sell a lot of jazz records because when I look in thrift shops, there's a lot of oldies records, a lot of old stuff, and I'm not really into old classic rock. You know, of course, I found a Pink Floyd or something, I'd pick it up, or Led Zeppelin, or pretty much any kind of old progressive rock. But not really into the classics, Eric Clapton, Cream, stuff like that. So I pick up a lot of jazz stuff. But when I go into this record store, he's got a really wide range of stuff. So I pick up things like this, things like you know, more reggae or experimental stuff, electronic music, kind of early rap, early hip hop stuff, progressive rock, krautrock, all kinds of stuff. And I've told him before, I said I could walk in with $1,000 and just spend it like it was nothing. You know, there's so many good choices in the store. So for me, it feels like every day at that store is record store day. So yeah, that's wrapping it up for stuff I picked up earlier in the summer, and then my next video is going to be things I picked up at the store's 5th anniversary sale. Found some pretty neat stuff, and one record in particular that really excited me. So stay tuned, and that'll be coming up next.